Politically Incorrect with Bill Maher, tonight following ABC's Nightline.
Right on Politically Incorrect, humorist Al Franken. From Crosby, Stills, and Nash, grab Nash. Author Tony Hillerman and columnist Betsy Hart. And now, the star of Politically Incorrect, Bill Maher.
Thank you very much. Well, what a week for science. I tell you, science is unbelievable. First, the cloning thing, and now, did you hear this? Scientists have found a way to transplant, get this, fetal pig cells. These are cells from, I guess, a pig's fetus, obviously. No, into the brains of people who suffer from Parkinson's disease. Isn't that great? The cruel part is they're doing it just as a goof. It's just... doesn't really help the people. Also, I love this. Archaeology news. Archaeologists did a spear that was made by primitive man that they show means that the primitive people were a lot smarter than we think, and which answers the old question, is that a spear on your loincloth? Or are you just Homo erectus? It's a very interesting question. Now, in the modern age, McDonald's is trying to convince its stockholders to go for what they call a burger war. They want to really lower the prices so they can, you know, really give it to the competition. And like 55-cent hamburgers is what they're talking about. And apparently this has already got some people thinking, because over at the White House now, a cup of coffee is down to $30,000. Yeah, they have their problems over there with those scandals at the White House. In fact, Janet Reno, our Attorney General, is getting a lot of pressure to appoint an independent counsel. And she's not saying whether she's going to do that, but to take some of the attention off Clinton, she did say that she's going to be coming out during the May sweeps. So, yeah, some of the people who attended those Clinton coffees, this is in the paper, I'm not making this up, were unsavory types, drug dealers, and one guy was a stock swindler who met with the $100,000 fat cats, and this guy is back in jail, where he apparently will meet a much better class of people. All right, thanks for coming. It's all been satirized for your protection. Let us meet our panel. She is a columnist for the Scripps Howard News Service and a weekly contributor to MSNBC. Betsy Hart. Hey, Betsy, thanks for coming by. He is the former president of the Mystery Writers of America and a winner of the Navajo Tribe Special Friend Award. His new book is The Fallen Man. Tony Hillerman. How are you, sir? Thank you for coming. Please, sit right over there. For 25 years, he's been the Nash and Crosby, Stills, and Nash. He also has a doctorate from the New York Institute of Technology. Wow, Dr. Graham Nash. Wow. Hi, Doc.
It's the first time I've ever been introduced like that.
That's all right. Yeah, right.
How you doing?
All right, he is the star of TV and film and author of the unstoppable bestseller, Rush Limbaugh is a Big Fat Idiot. You know him, you love him. Al Franken, right over here. Hey, Al.
Hey, Bill. Thank you.
Okay. First thing, Tony, I was looking for your book. Great book. I know you've written many on Native Americans, and there's a few issues involved with that. One is, casinos. They have a lot of casinos. One is that the Indian tribes do not pay taxes, and it drives the Jewish tribes nuts. Also, the social toll that gambling is now taking on our country. But I wanted to ask you this, and the whole panel. Indians who run so many of these casinos now were, you know, one time and probably still the conscience of this country, really. Can you be spiritual and run a casino?
Well, I haven't tried either one, but it seems to me that being spiritual wouldn't affect your appetite for breakfast, dinner, lunch, and...
But a casino,
well...
it doesn't seem like a spiritual activity.
Well, doesn't it appeal to the lowest common denominator of the people? I mean, think about it. Casinos, you know, aren't they run by people that are little...
They were used, I mean, I think they should be run by the mafia. That's how it was. You know, I don't want Chief Compadrinka coming up to me. I don't...
Look, it's easy to be down on the whole idea of gambling when you've got enough to eat and you don't have to worry about sending your kids to school and all of that. I don't think this is these people's first choice, but we made a lot of mistakes in the treatment of the Indians, and we compounded our early mistreatment of them in the beginning of our nation's history by then putting them on reservations and getting them to be seduced by what is really a welfare system. But the long term is we have to say what's going on here, and what's going on is we made some big mistakes early on in the treatment of Indians, and we compounded that by putting them into a major welfare system, and we've got to find a way out of that.
But they're one thing, you know, like the Jews or the Irish, people who were poetic people, was that they had, you know, the rest of the world were, you know, evil schmucks and did their thing, but they were like, had their soul. Isn't that more important than...
I don't think gambling would be their first choice, but like you say, when you have to feed your kids, you've got to go with what works, at least in the short term.
I don't think this country will be a great country until it deals with what it did to the Indians. I really, truly don't. I think karmically, we're screwed.
Comically?
Karmic. I'm English.
Karmic. I thought we had to make fun of them.
How we should sing again.
Yeah.
Easy for a limey.
Yeah,
now, wait
right.
a second. You know,
Yeah.
I've been an American citizen here probably longer than you've been alive, Al. You know, so...
But the
I
English...
kind of doubt that, but...
But that's true. The English abused their own version of India.
Well, the English were the worst on the planet. You know,
Right.
I mean, we taught you guys how to
No, that
do
would
this.
be the Spanish.
No. Who wrote the letter to George III suggesting they collect the blankets out of the
Richard
small
Simmons.
part?
Richard Simmons.
You think the Spanish are worse than the Germans?
Yes,
Then we name a college after.
it's true. It's
Well,
nasty, nasty.
I was just thinking in terms of treatment of Native Americans.
Oh.
The Germans really weren't too bad to the Native Americans. unless you were a really unlucky Native American
Right.
and emigrated and
Right.
converted,
There are not
which happens.
a lot of Jewish Indians, are there, Al?
Back to the...
Running shoe.
Back to-
One that I can
No,
think of.
no. The Schmohawks.
What?
The Schmohawks were Jewish.
Mohawks were
The
Jewish.
Schmohawks
The
were Jewish.
Schmohawks.
And my friend sits by the Torah. Okay, I don't know.
Oh, what a serious discussion of Native Americans we're having
Well,
here.
it's too much. Graham's right. I mean, we have very much mistreated the Indians, but the big problem is we've seduced them with the welfare system, and unless we get them off of that and figure out ways to do it, I'd like to see creating enterprise zones on reservations and drawing in business. Let the Native Americans decide whether or not they want to have a car plant or some major businesses come in. At least give them that choice. You could turn things around on these reservations overnight.
But haven't we
I'm
solved-
sorry, I have to take a break. When I come back, Tony, I want to hear from you, because you're the one guy who actually knows something about this. Obviously, we don't. So we will come back. One second.
Politically Incorrect with Bill Maher, brought to you by Royal Caribbean.
If you're planning to be in the Los Angeles area and would like free tickets to Politically Incorrect, call 213-852-2655.
Okay, we're back. We were talking about the Native Americans as regards to casinos. Let me ask you the question again, Tony, because your terrific book here, and I know you've written many
Isn't
books.
that about
on the-
Crosby?
No, stop it. Can you be spiritual, which the Indians have always been, and run a casino?
Of course, and we're overlooking the cream on top of this sundae that the Indians enjoy most of all. after all these years, they're skinning the white folks. They are taking it right off the top. And I love it. I love it.
Even though you're white. You are white, right?
I go in there and lose my $100.
You do?
Yeah.
But
And I don't, and, you know, I come out trying to pretend I'm cheerful about it, but, you know, because it's a good cause. But no, I love them. I mean, but gambling is, let's face it, bad stuff. But I go to Vegas and make my contribution to the mafia. I just make it to the tribes, right?
But that's not what the Indians wanted to do, was skin the white guy. I mean, remember the Indian with the tear because he saw the land polluted? You know, what, is he crying? To think of him crying because there's a bad
Well, that's because someone got blackjack.
Right.
You're
I think they're
blaming.
trying to make a living. I mean, what you've got going on in these places, there's incredible
But a living
high
is never
levels
what
of...
they were about to begin with. They made their living.
Well, we took that
Bill,
away
come
from them.
on, that is so... Well,
was
that's
the-
right. That's right. But on top of that...
But they were
it's-
superior because of their soul.
Well, I'm not sure
Because of their victimhood? I mean,
No.
when we came here, there were... I don't know, how many American Indians were here when we came?
When the white folks arrived, nobody knows. They didn't have a census bureau. I think you could say several without being a hell of a lot.
And there are several fewer.
Several fewer
now, and that was the result of
British
genocide.
Well, the British imported smallpox and named Amherst College after the guy who dreamed it up.
Yeah.
Lord
What a
Amherst.
terrible thing to do. I was
Pardon me?
telling you before, the English are really bad. I mean, they
Bad
did
folk.
exactly that. You know,
Bad folk.
they,
Right.
they, you know, seeded the blankets with smallpox and all
blamed
kinds
it.
of diseases
You know-
and blamed it. You know.
On the Spanish.
But Bill,
Right.
you seem to be suggesting that somehow
They were bad enough.
the Indians are aspiring to this is a great thing. I don't think they are. I don't think the Native Americans are excited about the idea that they're reduced to having gambling. I think they're saying we need a way out of what is a terrible situation on
Yes.
too many
And
reservations.
Americans also, gambling is expanding all over this country. Communities are, it's just a bad idea.
It is a bad idea.
All over. How, you know, the riverboat gambling that's on the Ohio River and small communities in the Midwest, and it's really destructive.
It is destructive because it makes people feel like they can get ahead not by dint of their effort, but by, hey, you never know. That's the lotto slogan in New York.
Well,
Hey,
sure, I mean,
you
it's-
never know. What a way to live your life.
Yeah.
Hey, you never know.
Yeah, and just statistics show that
Right.
it increases crime, it increases, obviously, addiction.
Prostitution.
It is
Well, that's
crummy,
not
but
so
there's
bad, but the, I'm talking about, I'm talking about negative effects of gambling. You wouldn't
There I am
change the
ruining your
subject,
theory
Bill.
again. Okay, we have to take a break. We'll be right back. Okay, we were talking about, well, the Indians and how they lived lightly on the land, and I don't mean like Paul Lynde. I mean they did not abuse the land. Okay? There's a...
Lighten their moccasins.
And,
is what you mean.
right, yes,
okay.
moccasins. There is a debate raging in New Mexico about what to do with nuclear waste. They want to put it about a half a mile underground. We have all this spent nuclear
On
waste.
Indian land,
I think it might be on Indian.
second-class citizens. Let's give it to them. Let's bet it in their land, not our land.
Right.
We don't want to put
You
it
know,
in the middle of Beverly Hills.
But in that case, in a number of cases, Indian tribes have actually wanted nuclear waste. They've worked out with the companies, and there's been an economic benefit to them that they deemed worth the risk, and then authorities higher up said no.
No, wait a second.
And the
This,
fact that-
they think it's worth the risk?
Well, we
Are,
have nothing.
are those people
Look,
educated
the
enough
risk-
about what's going on with nuclear power to say that they will take the risk?
What is
Graham,
the risk?
yeah,
The risk?
Yeah, what is
How
it?
about 500,000 years of toxicity for a risk?
Graham, first
Where
of
is
all, a
What do you mean, where is it?
Yeah, where is it?
The nuclear level, the nuclear waste they want to put in those caverns will stay toxic for about 500,000 years.
And wouldn't you rather have it 8,000 feet underground in those salt beds?
Do you mean it doesn't? If it stayed 8,000 feet down, God bless you, but it doesn't. It
But,
breaks out of
Graham-
there, gets into the water table. What are you
But-
shaking your head for?
Because
but
it's
it
not
doesn't,
true.
It doesn't.
Let me explain this issue to you.
Oh, you're going to explain it to me?
I will,
Okay,
yeah.
go ahead.
after World War II, the Eisenhower administration decided they wanted to cause America to build bomb shelters because Stalin was, right?
Right.
So they take over television, and we were bombarded, our children were, with all these horrible pictures of, bombs going off, buildings blown away. All that happened, of course, bombs. And our children, my oldest daughter was taught to hide under the desk, right? And we produced about a 10-year generation of children who are paranoid about nuclear power.
Right.
And we're not going to get really going on nuclear power.
Well, we were paranoid about nuclear attack, not nuclear power.
Well, oddly enough, they're paranoid
Tony's
about
right.
nuclear
Tony's
power.
right. It spilled over into a fear of nuclear power. You have to remember something.
Yes, it spilled over, much like the radiation.
Radiation is energy, and absolutely everything emits it. In fact, the U.S. Capitol building is so radioactive
That's
that
what's
if it were
wrong with those
nuclear-
people.
That's right.
Unbelievable.
Right.
Now we know.
The Capitol
What are you
building-
talking about?
The Capitol building emits so much radioactivity that if it were
Why?
a nuclear power plant,
Because
it would
it's made
not
out
be
of
allowed to
radioactive
open.
rocks.
Absolutely everything emits
So
radioactivity.
wait a second. So what is the point here?
The point is, we ought to do something about getting rid of this paranoia and rejoining the 21st century, because Europe is, you can't go to a city in Europe without
Yes,
walking
I have
by
statistics here to back you up.
And that makes it
France,
good?
76% of their energy comes from nuclear. Sweden, 46%. Lithuania, 85%. And the other 15% from an old guy rubbing an acrylic sweater.
But does that make it right?
No,
Does that make it right?
but we know that the fossil fuels actually are killing us. We know
Yeah,
that.
we're already sucking the earth dry, so let's go and poison the earth in this ridiculous attempt to
what is
create
the
energy.
alternative?
The alternative? There's wind, there's geothermal.
Wind.
They don't work.
But
Those
It
Not
don't work
reliable
because they
enough.
have not put the money into developing the technology. That's why it don't work.
but how,
At the
I swear to God, if they found a way of charging for wind power, that's what they'd be doing.
Fran,
But
the
they
fact
haven't
is,
figured it out yet.
It's not as reliable and it's extremely expensive. And we do
How
know.
could you
Oh, wait
run
a
a
second. I'm
car on-
poisoning the earth for 500,000 years.
not
It's reliable.
But
Graham, how
the
could you-
risk
where do you
of
think-
the risk of nuclear power, nuclear energy, is extremely low. And in fact, we
Talk
know.
about the people in Chernobyl.
Graham, hey, look, that's something that the communists ran.
Oh,
those are the guys.
wait a
who are-
second.
Yeah, those are the guys who are running your show trials, not your nuclear power plants. Look,
Listen,
we
there
know
have been
historically.
4,000 nuclear accidents in this world that have never gone reported.
Oh, baloney.
Oh,
That
yeah?
is not-
I'll send you the documentation. You can't say it's baloney because it's not true.
Graham, how can you run a car on wind?
Well, you know what?
Serious,
We're running
I mean-
them on methane.
Methane?
Yes.
Which is cow farts? Is that what methane
I tell you,
is?
half the buses here in Los Angeles are run on natural gas, run on methane, run on ethanol. Absolutely.
Well, okay, but
Well,
that's
you can run on electricity which can be generated by wind. I mean,
But how could
that
a
I know.
car? I mean, you, if you have
That
a,
I know. I'm a little lost here.
honey, I'm going to be late. I got to wait for the wind.
I have a feeling. Wait a minute. I have a feeling I know very little. I feel I know as little about this as you do. So I
And a little bit more out.
Right. He knows more than anybody.
Well,
yeah. Well, but so
No, you
But
know.
no, he
a lot.
doesn't
I
because
know
he's
more.
throwing
Yes,
out
you
a lot of. Graham's using a lot of scare tactics and a real emotional response. And in fact, nuclear energy is extremely safe. We even know that millions of years ago,
well,
in a couple
comparing it to the
places.
Capitol makes me suspicious.
Oh, look, a coal burning, and it should. A
you know
coal
what I
burning
mean?
plant, a coal burning plant of the same size emits more radiation than a
Exactly.
nuclear power plant.
Quite a bit more.
And we know
more. Unless-
historically.
unless it goes off.
Yeah, unless. Well, and the Chernobyl point is a different point.
It's
I
a
mean, that
fundamentally
we
different
do have
kind
to
of
worry
nuclear-
about.
It doesn't matter that it's a
these-
fundamentally different kind
No,
of
it
nuclear
does
because
matter.
the fallout from Chernobyl made it all the way across the Atlantic to here.
Yes, and Russian women today lost their mustaches from that accident. I have to take a break. We will be right back. Okay, join us Monday. We'll have a special one-on-one with interview with the vampire author and rice. That is hard to say. Okay, you only have a minute. We were talking about nuclear power. I guess it comes down to, you know, if we're better at conserving energy.
Well, the sad thing is that nuclear power only pumps about 12% into the national grid, and yet we waste as a culture 50% of the energy that we create. I mean, it's insane.
Well, you know, Graham, it would be we'd be pumping a lot more of it if there weren't folks out there with a very emotional response, putting a lot of hot air out there about the dangers of nuclear power.
Wait a second, have you seen every major city that you look at night? Every single major city has got every building blazing with lights.
Right,
So
air
totally
conditioning left on because
it's
God forbid somebody...
If we conserved 12% energy, you wouldn't have need for nuclear power.
But nuclear power is clean and safe and efficient.
But you wouldn't need it.
Graham.
Yes.
You who are on the road